guys, so today we are doing slope. This is just a review. You guys did a lot of this in Algebra 1 and I know in geometry. But slope is the rise over the run. So how many you're going up and how many you're going over. Or how many you're going down and how many you're going over. It depends on if your slope is negative or positive. The most common equation that we use is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope. Okay? Always say m is slope. And the b is the y-intercept. And that'll come into play when we start graphing. But our first example is we have 2 points and you want to find the slope. So we have 0, -2, and 3, 4. So what I do, which is really helpful before I start anything, is I label my x and y. So I'm going to label my x, and then my y's right here. And to find the slope, and we're only going to do one example because I want you guys to focus on graphing because you guys should be able to find the slope pretty easily, is you're going to do delta y over delta x. This is what the sign means. Delta it just means change in y over change in x. Now I'm going to look at my labeled equation and I can see I already labeled the x's and the y's. And I'm going to pick one. It doesn't matter if you start with -2 or 4, you're going to get the same thing. So I'm going to pick 4. So I'm going to have 4 minus a -2 over. Now since I started with 4 up top, I need to start with 3 on the bottom. So I'm going to have 3 minus 0. Well, 4 minus a -2 minus a negative actually changes into a positive. So I'm going to have 4 plus 2, which is 6. 3 minus 0 is 3. Now this does simplify. So 6 over 3 does simplify to 2. So my slope is 2. Again, I just wanted to recap that. We're not going to do that much of that in this class, but just so you can see where the slope comes from, because I know you guys did it in Algebra 1. All right. So let's graph one. So our first example is we have y equals -2x plus 5. So I'm going to label everything, and this -2x is I'm going to say m equals -2x. I'm writing it on the side just so it doesn't go on the graph. You guys can circle it. It's going to overlap, and I don't want to confuse you guys. And then 5 is my y-intercept. Actually, let's write y-intercept equals 5. So how you graph this is you're going to graph the y-intercept first. So my y-intercept is 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plot it. Now your graphs will look a lot neater than mine because I drew it. And then you're going to graph the slope. Now the slope is -2x, which means I'm going to go down 2. So 1, 2, over to the left. And the reason why, I'm sorry, you're going to the right. The reason why you're going to the right is the line is going to go down. It's going to decrease. It's going to get smaller, not bigger. It's going to get smaller, so it's decreasing. Okay, and I'm going to do another one. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, over 1. Now, I like to do like 3 points. This would be fine. So if you do the slope twice, and then you draw the line, that's fine. I like to do it one more time. It's up to you. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, over. Here we go. I'm going to use a piece of paper for a straight edge. You guys can use a ruler. And then I connect the dots. Again, I drew my graph, so it's not going to be completely perfect. But that's just how we graph it. Okay? So you start with the y-intercept and then you use the slope. Actually, for the slope, I shouldn't have the 2x. Let's just have the -2. All right, let's do another one. So now, for example 3 is we have y equals 1/2 x plus 4. Let's label what everything is and then we'll graph it. So my slope is going to be 1/2. It is positive, which means that the line is going to go up, not down. So it's going to go up, and the previous one it actually went down. And then my y-intercept is 4. So I always start with the y-intercept. That's a great indicator. So I'm going to go up 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, plot. Okay. Now my slope is 1/2, so I'm going to go up 1 over 1, 2. At this point, you see I'm going to go off the graph, so you can actually go backwards, is you can go down 1 over 1, 2. The reason why I went backwards is now I have that line. I have 3 points. You should have 3 points when you connect the line. Don't just do 2. Have 3. I'm going to go back down 1 over 1, 2. Okay? And then I connect the points. I know it's going to be a little bit wonky because I drew my graph, but that's okay. Let's make this dot a little bit bigger. Oops, sorry guys. And then you just connect the points. I'm not asking you to solve for these or anything. I just want to see you guys graph them. I know you guys did a lot of this in Algebra 1 and in geometry. This is just a recap. So let's do our last example. And this one's a little bit different because if you look, it's 3x plus 2y equals 12. Well, this is not in y equals mx plus b form, which is what I want. So let's go to the side here. And I'm going to rewrite it. And let's solve for y. So I'm going to move that 3x, and 3x is positive, so I'm going to subtract by 3x on both sides. Right here, 3x minus 3x. Gone. Cancels out. So I'm left with 2y equals negative 3x plus 12. I cannot combine them. They are not the same. Do not combine them. And now I'm going to divide by 2 on each term. Divide by 2, divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 cancels out, so I'm left with y equals. Negative 3 divided by 2 is just negative 3 divided by 2, tack on the x. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So this is my equation. So now let's break it down as my slope is negative 3 over 2. And my y-intercept is 6. So let's go up 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to go down 3 over 2. So remember, it's going to go down this time. So down 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2. I'm going to do it again. Down 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay. I'm going to leave it like that just because this one's kind of hard to graph. And then I'm going to connect those dots. And graph it. Okay, so let's just recap this lesson. So remember, when you're dealing with slope, we want to graph it in the graph it in the y equals mx plus b form. M is your slope, b is your y-intercept. You always start with your y-intercept and then you use your slope. If you have a negative slope like this one, the line is going to be decreasing because you read a graph left to right. As you can see, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. If you have a positive slope like this one, when you read it left to right, you can see that the line is actually increasing. It's getting bigger. If it is not in y equals mx plus b form, and it's in this form, which is actually called standard form, and I'm going to write that. You need to convert it into y equals mx plus b form. So you basically just solve for y. It's okay to have fractions. You will have fractions. We're in Algebra 2. When you solve for this, and you have it in y equals mx plus b form, label your slope, your y-intercept, graph your y-intercept, and then your slope. Again, this slope is negative, so it's going to be working its way down. It's decreasing. Okay, so make sure you take your time with these and you pay attention to the slope. Is it decreasing or increasing? That is the biggest mistake that we see.